Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast, episode 50. We're honored to be here today with Hali and just talk about Eunoia Rescue. She's the president of Eunoia Rescue. She's also an attorney, so she has a lot of stuff going on. Her life is crazy. I don't know how you handle it all because you're taking care of the rescue, you're handling a bunch of fosters, a bunch of dogs, coordinating this, coordinating that. You're also an attorney doing all that kind of stuff. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your friendship. Really appreciate you and Tal. But looking forward to getting into your story today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we got Jess sitting with us, and we got the bunny here, obviously, behind the camera. But I just want to kind of jump right into it. Where'd you grow up? Kind of what was your childhood like up until college? Can you give us the quick and easy on that part of your life?
Yeah. So I was actually born in Wilmington, North Carolina. Grew up a beach baby. I have pictures of my little tiny self running in a diaper down the beach.
Were you birthed on the beach, or you just spent the majority of your time there?
My dad is a big surfer.
Okay.
And so he spent a lot of time on the beach. And so my mom was in nursing school, so my dad would take me to the beach as like daycare.
Yeah.
And he would surf, and I would hang out with his friends and stuff.
Nice.
So that's where I grew up initially, and then once my sister was born, we moved to Charleston, and my mom started at MUSC, so that's what sparked the move.
Okay.
And Izzy is 6.5 years younger than me, so...
Nice.
Hey, Izzy. She probably won't even listen to it.
Where's she at now?
She goes to Clemson University.
Okay. Oh, so there's a little bit of rivalry there, because I know you went to USC, right?
Yeah, I did. She initially was at College of Charleston, and then she decided she did not want to be in her hometown anymore. Yeah. And went up to Clemson, and she's thriving up there, so good for her, but boo Tigers.
Well, I did see you on Instagram in some Tiger apparel.
Oh, yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, I should have screenshotted that to hold that,
my arm was
for
twisted.
use later.
It was not voluntary. She literally said, "You can't wear your Gamecocks jersey to the game."
Yeah.
But it wasn't even a Gamecocks game.
Yeah.
So.
Good to go.
Yeah.
So, you guys ended up in Charleston. Your mom's at MUSC.
Yeah.
How was the surfing down here versus in North Carolina?
Oh, my dad hates it down here. He still will drive up to Topsail Beach every once in a while just to get some waves in. But grew up in West Ashley, went through all the public schools there, including West Ashley High, and then went to USC.
How was high school? Was there anything, that happened in high school that kind of stuck in your head? Like, oh, I definitely don't want to be this. I definitely don't want to do that. Any memories or anything that kind of just stuck in your mind? That first thing that comes to your head
of high school?
Of high school, I don't know.
Probably cheerleading is the first thing that comes to mind from high school.
Yeah.
Or Tal and I met in high school.
Good to go.
Technically we met in middle school, and I had a crush on him in middle school, but he claims he had no idea who I was then. So.
Did he play any sports or anything that you were cheerleading for? Or?
He played baseball.
Okay.
So did not cheer for that, but I was in the stands a lot.
You were in the stands cheering for him from the stands?
Gnats. That's what I remember from baseball season, or all the Gnats. And then, he's a year older than me, so he went to USC first, and then I ended up going there as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so you went to USC. Did you major in law at first, or
no?
How'd all that work out?
No, my original plan was actually to be a veterinarian.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to deal with dogs because I love dogs. Growing up, I had a Rottweiler named Rocky.
Nice.
She was a female Rottweiler that was awesome.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I wanted to do something with dogs, so I majored in biology. First semester biology was not good. I think I got a D, which was like the worst grade I'd ever gotten in my life. And so I was like, at USC, probably other colleges too, they offer where if you don't do well, you can take the course again the next semester and erase that grade.
Right.
So I did it again, and like halfway through the semester, I could tell things were not improving. Yeah. And so I just quit going to that class, and I ended up failing. So I replaced my D with an F, and my parents were like, all right, we need to have a talk and figure out what you can do that doesn't involve biology.
Yeah. Was it biology, or you're just, someone just getting into, you're a college freshman.
It was biology.
Yeah, okay, all right, just checking.
My other grades were good. Even chemistry was good. But something about, I don't know. I don't even know what a biology topic is anymore, but it was no good.
Plankton, is that biology or is that something else?
Zoology? Marine biology?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it wasn't good. So then for a little while, I was like a history major, and I was like, I'm going to be a history teacher in high school.
Nice.
And then I was like, I don't like kids.
Yeah.
I don't like high school kids.
Yeah.
So then I was trying to figure it out, and my dad was like, you need to go to law school, and you'll be good at it, and that's what you need to do. There's no science involved. There's no math involved. And I was like, you have a point.
Yeah.
So decided to switch my major to criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
I actually interned with Tal's stepdad, who is, well, he was a federal public defender for like 25 years in Charleston.
Oh, nice.
So in college, I interned in their office downtown Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see a lot of cool stuff, and I was like, I could do this.
Yeah.
Then the next summer, I interned with his mom. She was a federal probation officer. So I got to see kind of the other side of the criminal justice system there with her. And I was
a lot
like,
of law in the family.
oh, yeah. In his family, not my family. Mine's all science. All science. I don't know where, that gene went with my brain, but apparently didn't land. So saw both sides of the criminal justice system, decided I was not going to be the person sending people to prison.
Yeah.
And so I decided basically probably junior year of undergrad that I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney, and that's just what I stuck to. So got a major in criminal justice, minor in political science, and then applied to law school. I think I only ended up applying to Charleston School of Law and USC. I got an offer to go to Michigan for law school, and I was like, scholarship sounds great because then I wouldn't have any student loans, but snow does not sound great.
Yeah.
My dad even bought me like this major like Eddie Bauer
Oh,
parka,
really?
And he was like, "You're going to Michigan," and I was like, "I'm not even applying to Michigan."
Yeah.
So.
What was Tal thinking about Michigan at the time? He was like,
I don't know, honestly. I think he was excited about the prospect of no student loans.
Yeah.
But he was already back in Charleston at that point. Working on his EMT license.
Yeah.
And so I think the thought of way more distance than just 2 hours was kind of daunting to both of us too. So decided against Michigan for a bunch of reasons.
Good to go.
Yeah.
So you ended up at USC for law too?
Yep. Went straight in, which I quickly realized they do like an admitted students day, and then before like actual classes start your first year, they do like an orientation week. And from the start, you could tell the people that like took at least a year off before they were going to be at the top of the class. They knew their stuff.
Really?
They were serious about it. Whereas everybody who kind of went straight through was like, oh boy, like this is way different than undergrad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad.
What were some of the struggles as you were going through that? Was it?
So the biggest one that stands out to me is through undergrad, well, basically from like halfway through high school, I worked. So went to school. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And through undergrad, I was able to pay for at least some of my expenses that way. So with law school, your first year, they literally tell you can't work like at all. And so I was like, oh.
Because you're so busy?
Because you're so busy. The course load is just so intense. And at first I was like, they don't mean that. Like, I'll pick up like a waitressing job like second semester or something, see how it goes. And then first semester we get to the end of it and I'm like, I now understand why they say that. It is intense. It was like each class, and you have like 5 or 6 classes the first semester. And it's all like the basics. So like criminal law, torts, contracts, like civil procedure, the like core of the law. Every night you'd have like 25 to like 50 pages of reading per class. Dang. And so it's like, well, first of all, you got to pick which ones you actually want to pay attention for that week and focus on reading that, and then sleep and do at least some social things. So it was kind of difficult to manage.
Dang. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you got on the train to manage all that, and keep going through it.
Yeah.
And then you finished up. And then what was that like as you were wrapping that up and moving in? I don't know how the job selection process goes.
Yeah. So after law school, you have to take the bar exam, which they like last semester of law school, they drill it into you. Like, you can't work over the summer. You have to do like 40 hours a week of studying every week. You need to take the class. So the prep class itself is like $2,000, $3,000. You have to pay to sit to take the bar, which is $1,000.
My gosh.
It's a huge application process where you have to get like character witnesses and like affidavits from people saying that you're not a bad human being. You have to like submit basically your life story to the Supreme Court.
Holy smokes.
Put on there like anytime you've ever had any sort of ticket, or like even like a speeding ticket, which I had a few of those.
I was about to ask if you had a clean record.
No, I wasn't so worried about the speeding tickets, but one time in undergrad I did get pulled over and I had a fake ID behind my real ID. And I pulled my real one out and the cop was like, "Wait, what's that?" And I was like, "My other ID." And so I had to like put on there that I had the fake ID ticket, which I was like, dang, like they're going to think I'm a horrible human being.
They all did that.
Right, that's what I was thinking. They just weren't stupid enough to get caught.
Yeah.
But basically, once you finally put all of the application in, you start studying for the bar. And we like had a trip planned to Yellowstone that summer, and we had all sorts of stuff going on where I was like, studying when I had time.
Yeah.
And I did not put the 40 hours a week in. And so the bar rolls around, and I remember like breaking down and looking at Tal and being like, "I can't do it. I'm gonna fail."
Yeah.
And he was like, "The worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna fail." And I was like, "Yeah, exactly. Like, that's awful."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, just take it because you already paid for it, and just see how it goes." And I sat down that morning and I looked at the exam because it's 2 days of testing.
2
and
days.
The first day is 8 hours of like multiple choice questions, but it's not just like a sentence question. It's like 2 paragraphs of question, and then you have to choose like the most correct answer out of like the 5 choices. So
your brain is just
going.
It's just working for 8 hours. You're smoked.
Yeah,
You're
my
smoked
brain's
at
like,
the
what
end.
is a tort? I don't remember the basics.
Yeah.
And then the next day is 8 hours of essay writing.
Oh my gosh. Holy smokes. And it's like this scenario happens right
Right.
you
So
have to do or whatever.
it'll be like a lot, they call it like a fact pattern. So it'll be like a 2-page long fact pattern of, say it's like a trust issue. So this guy died and he has this kid and he owns all this stuff.
Yeah.
And this person wants the dog, but this person wants the dog too. Who gets the dog? Who gets this? Who gets this? Who gets this?
Holy
And then you have to write the paragraph of like, well, the issue is this. The reasoning behind whatever is this. I mean, I don't even remember like all the stuff that you're supposed to break it down. But
it's just intense.
it's very intense.
Yeah.
And so I remember sitting down that first day and being like, well, here goes nothing. And then I took it, and it felt great to have it done.
Yeah.
But I knew. I was like, I did not pass that.
Is it like a pass-fail thing, or they tell you like where you ranked at in the end?
So I think you can request the results to like figure out what your score was. But the way that they tell you whether you passed or fail or not is the Supreme Court puts out a list of names of the people that passed.
I gotcha.
And so if your name isn't on the list, you failed.
Dang.
And it takes like 2.5 months. So it's 2.5 months of like, oh my God, did I pass? Did I fail?
Yeah.
But I knew that I did not pass. So I didn't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
I started my job, and luckily my job didn't require bar passage because I was a clerk for judges.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to post it like the end of October. And it was like my first assignment with an actual judge where we were in the courthouse, and one of my friends texted me and was like, oh my God, they're posting results on Friday.
Holy
And
cow.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's the first week that I'm going to be in the courthouse with an actual judge. Like, I'm not going to be able to be in my office and just check it and like move on.
Yeah.
And so the judge instantly was like, did you pass or did you fail? And I was like, well, I guess we'll find out on Friday. And so luckily results came out after because we finished early on Friday.
Yeah.
So I was driving back to Columbia. Results came out. I waited until it pulled into the driveway, and I opened it up. My name was not on the list.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I mean, I knew that was coming. So signed up to take the bar again. Had to pay the whole $1,000 again, pay the $2,000 for the class again.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. And this time I was working. And so
Oh my gosh.
I was
so
like,
you got
well,
more going on.
Yeah. And I couldn't just stop working.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what I'll do is I'll study after work whenever I have free time. But like I've already taken the bar once, so I know what it's like. So I should be okay. I failed again.
Oh, shoot.
And that was in February. So the first time, took it in July.
Yeah.
Then got results around October. Then took it again in February. Got results around April. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have to quit my job because I'm actually going to have to like seriously study for this thing.
Yeah.
So I like had my whole like rehearsed speech out
Yeah.
like in my head. COVID was going on. It just started. So I
Okay.
couldn't like go in and talk to my boss in person. So I called her up and I was like, hey, so this is my 2 weeks. Like, I'm really sorry, but I have to study for the bar because I have to actually take it. Like, I didn't go to law school to be a law clerk.
Right.
I went to law school to be a lawyer.
Right.
And she was like, you don't have to quit. It's fine. Like, we can just give you time off and you can study. And she's like, how much time do you need? Like 2 weeks? And I was like, like 2 months. And she was like, well, okay. And I was like, yeah, well, you already offered, then you'll just give me time off. So, but court was shut down anyway, so it was like pretty good timing.
Oh, nice.
So
that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, and we couldn't go anywhere, so there weren't as many distractions.
Yeah.
And so I actually studied and passed.
Good to go.
Third time was the charm.
Awesome. Congratulations. I know
Thank
that
you,
felt good
thank
when
you.
that list came out and you saw your name on it.
Oh, yeah. Tal screenshotted it because I was doing something. I think I was at work or in a trial or something, so I didn't actually have access to my phone.
Yeah.
And I remember like opening it up and there was a screenshot from Tal with like my name,
Oh,
it was like circled.
He was
like,
we're celebrating tonight.
Right. So
Good to go.
he was
That
like,
reminds
yes,
me
we don't
when-
have to pay more.
There you go. That reminds me when I took the FE exam when you're an engineer. You know, whenever I was in college, I was a civil engineering major. And like when you're a senior, everyone's taking the FE exam, fundamentals of engineering, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
They got the prep course and all that, and I'm just like taking it. I'm like, yeah, I'll study in my free time, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to the Navy anyway. Don't really need this. And then I took it and I just, absolutely failed it. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to the Navy anyway, so screw it,
Who cares?
Then I ended up becoming a dog trainer, so it ended up being okay that I didn't pass it. So
Yeah.
that is a tough thing, all those exams you have to do, whether it be the bar or engineering style exam or anything like that. So
It's a lot of pressure on a young kid.
yeah, absolutely. And that's like,
Wow.
you went straight from high school to college to law school, straight to the bar, then you're working your job. We haven't even talked about the rescue yet. Were you involved in the rescue during this time too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you had all that going on too.
Yeah.
Well, when did that start? When did the rescue stuff start?
So the rescue was founded in 2015. I think it started like September of 2015. So I was a junior in college and I had been wanting a puppy so badly.
Yeah.
And everyone in my life, like my mom, my dad, Tal, I think even my best friend, they were like, you do not need a puppy. And I was like, yes, I do. And I would take Tal, I would make him take me to the shelter up here like weekly.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, look at this one, look at this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a puppy there that for the longest time hadn't gotten adopted. I was like, Tal, this means that this dog needs us.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it doesn't. And so I was like, fine, I won't get a dog. And that summer, I like had almost convinced everybody. And they were just like, no, Haley, like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So moved on past the idea. I was like, maybe when I graduate, I'll get a dog.
Yeah.
And then I saw a post on Facebook and it was like, hey, Eunoia Rescue is starting off and we need fosters. And a girl that I went to high school had made the post or high school with made the post. And so I was like, all the perks of a puppy, but no responsibility, financial responsibility at least.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, this is like the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
So I like immediately commented. I was like, I'll foster. And everyone was like, no, we said no puppies. And I'm pretty sure the landlord like didn't even know that we were going to have a dog in the house or anything.
Yeah.
So I commented on that Facebook post and said I would foster, and because it was like a baby rescue, nobody else had said that they were going to foster.
So they want to put all these dogs on you. They're like, hey, he's
Alicia was like,
available.
well, I guess you're our only option. Here you go. And so I'm pretty sure she did not intend for it to go this way. But essentially I was like, let me go pick out a dog.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, here's the list. And one of the shelters up here used to post a list online of like all of the dogs at risk of euthanasia in the Columbia area.
Because of space or because of whatever?
Yeah, mainly because of space is how they end up on the list. Yeah. So the list went out one day and I was looking and there was this little yellow lab puppy and I was like, this is the one. He needs us. He's our baby.
Yeah.
And so I sent it to Alicia and I was like, this is the one. I would like him, please.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And so I went and I picked him up from the shelter. I think I took my best friend Caitlin with me.
Yeah.
And immediately she was like, this dog smells. He's awful. He's dirty. Like, he's scared. And I was like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, we get to save him.
Yeah.
And so Alvin is what we named him.
Oh, nice.
And he was our first foster, and he was actually Eunoia's first ever adoption. And he came and stayed with the college girls on Preston Street.
Nice. Having a good time.
He had a blast.
Getting spoiled.
He was the only boy in the house. And he was...
Got a little visitor hanging out, little lizard hanging out. You don't like him?
No.
No? Oh, we'll get him out of your way here. There you go.
He knows. He smells
He's coming
the
to taunt you.
Look at him.
He's a cool guy.
They're everywhere around here. Anyways, Alvin used to pee down the air vents.
Oh my gosh.
Because instead of having them like on the walls or like the ceiling like normal houses, it would come up through the floor.
Yeah.
And Alvin took advantage of those. And
he
so
knew,
then
he knew that was the target area.
We would like splash bleach down because how else do you clean out an air vent?
Yeah. Don't think you can.
No. So he was the first ever foster, and then from there it was just like puppy.
So you'd adopt him out, and then you'd get the next one, or would you have two at a time at any point?
No,
just
not
one at a time?
initially.
Yeah.
Initially it was only one at a time.
Yeah.
And Caitlin had her dog Maple, and so Maple would teach the dogs all the tricks. And so for like throughout undergrad, that was just kind of what I did.
Yeah.
I would handle the adoptions of my fosters. I would help Alicia if she needed it for the most part. But I was pretty small back then.
Yeah.
So there wasn't too much going on that really needed like other help.
How many people were in the foster network? It was like you, Alicia, a couple other people.
At first it was just us. Like Alicia would take dogs to her house and I would have my puppy foster and that was like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it slowly started spreading out where we would get a few more. And it was slow for a while, and then I think Alicia was going to New Zealand for a month.
Dang.
I think right whenever I started law school, around then. And she was like, so if you're okay with it, I'm just going to have you run things while I'm gone. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, and I've also been calling you our vice president. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. What year was this?
What
year is this going on?
I think 2017 was when that happened.
So VP officially 2016, 2017?
Sometime around there. And that's whenever, it was right whenever law school started. So maybe it was 2016 actually.
Yeah.
And I had planned, since you can't work during law school, you're supposed to focus on the schooling. I was like, no fosters. Like I'll just help out with like transports or like the admin stuff. Like whenever I have free time.
That's a lot right there as it is.
But to me, I was like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like compared to having a living, breathing thing in your house that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
And then I got a text from Alicia, and it was a picture of this big-headed pit bull, and she was smiling, and she was like hiding under this like plastic thing at like a dog park or something. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know what the question is, but yes. And then she texted and she was like, well, this is Winnie, and she has an adopter lined up already. So they're just building a fence, and they can't take her until they like build their fence. But they've paid the adoption fee. They've signed the contract. They're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you just need to house her for a month. And I was like, sign me up. Like, I just started law school last week, but it's okay. Like, what's one puppy?
Yeah.
So
it's Winnie, boys. She's good to go.
Yep. So in comes Winnie.
Oh, she heard me say her name.
She's like, what you need?
What's up, Winnie?
But in comes Winnie, and I actually got her on my birthday. And I was like, look, this is the perfect birthday present.
Birthday present, good to go.
So she lands in Colombia, and immediately I'm just like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
This dog cannot leave this house ever.
Yeah.
And so I immediately text Tal, and I'm like, we need her. Like, we need to keep her, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he's still in Charleston. He's like, well, she already has a home, so too bad, sorry. And he's like, come on, you've gone through like 12 fosters now. Like, you know the deal. Like, you don't need to keep them.
Yeah.
Because then you can't. Oh, I thought it was Winnie. She makes noises like that.
She sounds like Ben off in the corner.
Well, that's her problem, too. Allergies. But, God, she, I texted Tal and I was like, we need to keep her. And he was like, no, she already has a home. And, you know, if you, like, adopt, you can't continue fostering. And I was like, says who?
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, fine, you're right.
Yeah.
So weeks pass, and Tal comes up from Charleston one weekend. And immediately Winnie's like, you're the one that I need to sell. So she, like, crawls up on the couch with him and, like, stretches out. And I'm like, I'm studying or doing something. I don't know what was going on. And I look over, and Tal's, like, massaging her feet.
Holy
Like,
cow.
she is laying on top of him. He's allergic to dogs, so the fact that she's even laying on top of him and he's tolerating it, I'm like, yes, lay it on thick.
Yeah.
And he's massaging her legs and her feet. I'm like, I don't even get that sort of
I was about to ask, are you massaging your feet?
Right. I'm like, what the heck? So I'm like, well, Tal's handled. Winnie got Tal wrapped around her little finger.
Yep.
So then I'm like, well, shoot, like, she's adopted.
Yeah.
So I text Alicia, and I'm like, so, about Winnie.
Yeah.
How do we keep Winnie? And she's like, I don't know. Like, they're really excited for her. I'm like, what do you mean they're excited for her? She's been with me for a month. Like, if they wanted her, they would have taken her right away. And she was like, oh, my God, I don't know. So then I'm, like, texting Tal sad pictures of Winnie curled up in bed. I'm, like, tweeting about her, like, putting it everywhere, making it so sad.
Yeah.
And then one day, Tal texts me, like, a screenshot. I don't remember if it was of a contract or of an email, but he contacted Alicia, got the adopter's emailed the adopter, and was like, hey, my girlfriend is fostering the dog that you adopted. She's in love with her.
Yeah.
I'm in love with her.
I'm in love with her.
What can we do? Like, we'll pay you back the adoption fee. Like, you can have a different dog. Like, we'll do anything.
Yeah.
And I had no idea this was going on.
Yeah.
And so...
He's too fast.
Just go away. Look at him. He's plotting.
Oh, he's back on the
Now he's
on the
curling up
railing.
the thing. But, so the adopter, somehow Tal talked the adopter into picking a different dog. And I think what happened was I sent him a picture of Winnie, and I was like, I don't want her to leave. And he responded and was like, well, she doesn't have to. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I think he sent me the screenshot of the contract or the email. I was like, well, I worked it out. That way he's picking a different dog.
Yeah.
So 2 adoptions in 1. I got to keep the pig.
Nice.
All was right in the world.
Yeah.
So Winnie has been here ever since. And I continued fostering.
Good to go.
I think at one point we had Winnie, Maple, and 2 fosters in the house my first year of law school.
Nice.
Which is probably, why we didn't do as great. But it's fine.
That's all right.
We had
Good
fun.
to go. So 2016, 2017, that's going on. You're in law school. You're vice president.
Yeah, apparently.
So how does it progress from there? How did Eunoia like explode to what it is now from that time? Was people just getting more and more involved?
Yeah,
I
think
the name just became more of a reputation going on.
Yeah, I think word slowly started spreading. We got involved with Low Country Dog Magazine, who does a bunch of events and stuff. So we were out and about like that. And
how did you guys get involved with them? They reached out to you, you reached out to them, or how did that?
Alicia reached out to them and was basically like, we need your help. Teach us your ways.
Yeah.
And so she formed a really good relationship with them, and they're awesome. They help us out all the time with all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that kind of helped. And then Alicia went to New Zealand for a month. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do an experiment And I'd asked her, like, what do you normally do? And Alicia's, like, total free spirit, and I'm, like, very type A. And so Alicia's like, well, like, no big deal. You can just post on social media when you want, and whenever you have time, do other stuff. And I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm posting on social media daily, and, like, made it, like, a routine of, like, wake up, 8 a.m., put something out. And so that's kind of when it started of, like, viewing... I always viewed Eunoia as a business.
Yeah.
Like, what do we need to do to grow the business?
Yeah.
And, like, social media engagement is such a huge thing, and especially when you don't have a facility, because Eunoia is foster-based.
Yeah.
Like, people are only going to hear about you from word of mouth. Like, they can't stop in and see the dogs.
Right.
So putting the dogs out on social media, to me, was a big thing, because I was like, that's how people are going to see it. Like, our website was, like, nothing back then.
Yeah.
So it was, like, Facebook and Instagram. And so for that month, I posted dogs daily, and I did it, like, at a certain time, and I was like, maybe people will, like, realize, like, 8:30 rolls around, and Eunoia has their dog up.
Yeah.
And so...
Were you just taking, like, a random picture and posting it of a dog, or did you have, like, an app you were using to help build a slideshow or something, or it was
sounds
just...
like a good idea, but no.
Just started off with a picture?
Yeah, I would text whoever the foster was and be like, send me a picture of the dog.
Yeah.
And then... for whatever reason, I thought it was a good idea to just make up the bio myself for the dog.
There you go.
And, like, all of the facts that I know about the dog, and then fill in with, like, standard dog facts. It's snuggly and loves to chase balls, or, like, random stuff like that. And
I can see where this is going.
Oh, my God. So, posted that, got into the routine, and social media started growing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's what we need to do, is post every day, because with the social media platform, then people, not only are reaching out about adopting, but they're reaching out fostering, donating. The bigger the platform, the more people that see it, the more people that can help.
Right.
And so got into that routine, and still daily, if I wake up and I forget to post at 8:30 in the morning, I'm, like, kicking myself. I'm like, shoot, I missed the mark.
Yeah.
But then at some point, I realized that, that shelter that, like, posts the like, broad, all the Columbia dog, that list.
Yeah.
They would have their fosters fill out a bio form and put in all the information that they do. And I was like, this is genius.
Yeah.
And so then somewhere along the way, realized that it'd be easier for the fosters to write the bios than for me to write the bios. But there was probably, like, a solid 2 years where I was cranking out the bios for dogs I had never even met before.
Did that ever come back and be an issue? Like, this dog's cuddly, and then someone cuddles the dog. They're biting
I don't
people.
think that I ever messed it up that badly, but I'm sure that there are probably some adopters that are like, what are they talking about? The dog likes this. That's not right at all.
Good to go.
Winnie. See? The noise that she just made was the same noise that Ben made.
That's the Ben noise. That's the Ben Winnie noise.
Yep. 2 peas in a pod over there.
So you evolved to getting the fosters to write in the bios, trying to get them to solicit some information. And was it was the foster network pretty big at that point? You were able to handle more dogs?
Yeah.
What do you think the number of dogs at that point was that you were handling, or you had in foster at a daily basis?
I'd
on
say
average?
Probably until mid 2017, we probably maxed out at, like, 20 dogs. And that was, like, big for us. Like, we were, like, over capacity.
Yeah. Was that throughout the state, or just Columbia, Charleston, or how was that kind of situated?
Mainly just Charleston.
Okay.
And then me in Columbia. And then, if there was, like, a random person up here, or, like, between Charleston and Columbia, or I think at one point we had, like, somebody up in Greenville.
Nice.
But for the most part, it was Charleston. And so I always, like, did things from afar. Like, I would go down to Charleston when I could help, but for the most part, it was from up here.
Yeah. Because you're also working as an attorney, so you have.
Well, then it was law school, though.
Oh yeah, law school. You have other responsibilities.
Right.
It's not like you're getting paid to do the vice president of the rescue, right?
Nope. All volunteer.
Yeah. Just
the good feeling of helping dogs. Oh Jesus, Jess.
Caught her by surprise. So then you're kind of proceeding, right? Getting through law school. What happens with the rescue at that point? Does it kind of expand even more as the socials are getting more traction?
Yeah.
Low Country Dog, you guys are getting a lot of people looking at you guys.
Yeah. It kind of snowballed. 2018, I remember, like, the kind of, like, mark between, like, being, like, a smaller rescue or, like, smaller Eunoia and, like, bigger Eunoia to me is one day Alicia and I were looking at dogs to pull from shelters.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the list, and we came up with, like, a list of 10 dogs that we wanted to pull.
Yeah.
And we found fosters for all 10 dogs. And I was like, wow, like, we've never done 10 at once before.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of when I realized, like, we're kind of taking off, getting bigger. Yeah. So then it slowly went from being, like, 20 to 25 dogs at a time to, like, 30 to 40. And then now we're lucky if we have, like, 65 is our low number.
Yeah.
But peak COVID, I think we got up to like 140 at one point, and I never want to be there again.
That's a lot of people to manage.
It is.
So behind the scenes, Eunoia is a foster network rescue, right?
Yep.
All the dogs are spread out amongst different people.
Yep.
What do you have to do on the back end, like you and the Eunoia staff? What do you have to do to manage all those fosters and the dogs?
A lot.
Keep track of everybody. Got your spreadsheet going, you know?
Got a lot of spreadsheets.
So the spreadsheet's the secret? To keep track of everything?
The spreadsheet's the secret sauce, yeah. It's a lot. So in order to foster or adopt from Eunoia, you have to fill out an application, which is on the website. And so we have like a foster coordinator who processes the foster applications, answers any questions they have, get them to sign the contract, tell them where all of our storage unit stuff is, all that, because we provide like food, supplies, we cover the medical costs. Basically, fostering's free if you want it to be. If you want to buy stuff for the dog, obviously, we're not going to complain.
Right.
But, so that's like the first step is to fill out the foster application. Yeah. Then once you get set up and you tell us what kind of dog you think that you can handle, or we figure out a dog, the type of dog, puppy, adult, senior, small, medium, large, whatever.
Yeah.
Then we start looking in shelters for those types of dogs. Because generally, as long as we're following our protocol, we don't pull a dog without having a foster lined up. So once we have a foster lined up and we have a dog that we want, we send it to the foster. They say yes or no.
Yeah.
We always like it when they say yes. Then we let the shelter know, hey, we can take this dog.
Yeah.
Figure out transport. Some shelters are good and they'll transport the dog to, the Charleston area.
Oh, that's nice.
Because we pull from all over the state.
Yeah.
Other shelters just don't have the resources, and so then we have to figure it out. And I lean very heavily on my mother for transport, whether it be from like the shelters to the fosters or to vet appointments. She's actually coming up here tomorrow, bringing a dog for a vet appointment.
Shout out to Mama.
Shout out to Mama
Getting it
Kim.
done. Yep.
Yep. And so once the dog's in foster, we have like an automatic 10-day quarantine period where we basically don't do anything. The dog can't go out to events. The dog, unless if it needs to go to the vet, doesn't go anywhere other than the vet. Yeah. And once we get to that point, we set up whatever vet care needs to be done. And then there's another spreadsheet. That's our social media calendar. So add the dog to the calendar based on, if it's healthy, then hopefully it gets added at the front of the list. If it's unhealthy or it has some sort of behavioral issue, then I put like an asterisk next to it and put it down the list.
Yeah.
But
work on a couple things. Got to work on a couple things so it can work its way to the top.
Just a few. Most of the time it's a medical thing that slows it down, like heartworm treatment or something like that.
Yeah.
But
that takes a while.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What other kind of medical issues are common other than heartworms?
Hit by car is probably our next biggest. So, like just today, I got a call about a puppy that was.
Shoot.
Actually, that one wasn't hit by a car. That one, the breeders fed the puppy in with the adult dogs, and the adult dogs were not happy that the puppy was eating the food and tore it up.
Yeah.
But hit by car is big, so a lot of broken legs. Most of the time, if we can have them repaired, we go that route. But a lot of times, it'll be a dog that gets out and the shelter doesn't get it for a week or two, and then they don't get it to us for a week. And then by that time, the leg's already healing improperly. So most of the time in that situation, the vet will be like, probably should just amputate it. It'll be an easier recovery.
My gosh.
It sounds daunting, choosing to chop a dog's leg off. And initially, I remember the first call I ever made for amputating a dog's leg, it tore me up. I was like, I just feel so bad, this poor dog. But then the vet was like, Well, this dog has already basically been conditioned to only use 3 legs because it hasn't been bearing weight on the leg for so long that it'll be like an easier transition from 4 to 3 than 4 to 3 back to 4.
Right.
Plus all the rehab and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Dang.
My car's big.
Yeah. Dang. That's intense.
Yeah.
What about, like Murdoch, the dog that we dealt with from Myrtle Beach with you guys?
Oh, yeah.
His eyes were removed. That was through you, right?
Yeah.
The eyes, what do you remember what happened with his eye?
He had glaucoma.
So what happened with, basically he was a puppy. There was an infection.
Yeah. So he was surrendered to a vet's office up here because the owner was told that he had glaucoma and lost his vision, and the owner wanted him euthanized for it at like a year old.
Dang.
Which unfortunately is pretty common, where owners are like, this is too much for me, put the dog down.
Yeah.
And so luckily...
How do they even get that infection, do you know?
I think it's genetic.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just poor breeding practices, then that resulted in that happening, and unlike humans who can smoke weed to help with their glaucoma, that was not an option for Murdoch. So,
get some secondhand smoke going on.
Just blow it at him. So that was a tough one too, because it's like, even though obviously he was in pain because of the pressure in his eyes and the fact that he was already blind because he couldn't use his eyes, it was still an odd call to make, to be like, let's take both of his eyes out. It was a very odd thing to like come to terms with. But we had it removed, and immediately he was like, he felt better and he was acting better. And then we adopted him out, and then the adopters just didn't handle things the way that they should have. And I remember calling you and being like, help, they're going to euthanize this dog.
I got fired up. I got pretty angry that night when you were telling me the story.
You sprang into action. I was like, okay. It's like, I was thinking I was going to have to drive to Myrtle Beach, but you did it. So. Or you sent
we had someone
somebody
take
else.
care of it, someone who happened to be in the area.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
But that's crazy, And that was the person that had him from the time he was like at that age until when they decided they didn't want him anymore. And it's like, in my mind, it's like, how can you just make the decision, you know what? I don't want this dog I've spent all this time with this dog. Right. I have this relationship, but you know what? I just don't want the dog anymore. It's just too hard to deal with because I failed as a dog owner.
It's a
I
very
failed as a human
decision.
being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't feel like taking responsibility. That gets me fired up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You and I both.
Yeah.
It's actually, I probably shouldn't disclose this information because maybe someone will use it against us, but it's actually one of the red flags on an adoption application. Anytime that I see that anybody returned a dog, surrendered a dog, euthanized an otherwise healthy dog, that's something that we have to have like a pretty intense conversation about. Like, why did you do this, and why should I trust you to not do it again?
Right.
Because, I mean, you can tell me you're not going to do it with our dog, but chances are I'm not going to believe you.
Right, exactly.
Because you've already proven that when things get tough, you just throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And that might be okay for you to deal with, but for a dog who has no idea, why or what's going on, and they're just happy in their home one day around people that they know are safe. Yeah. And then they end up somewhere completely different, especially dogs that end up in shelters. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, that should be an automatic disqualifier unless you can very detailed explain to me how you've changed your ways, how you're not going to do that. You're ready for the responsibility. Right. And if a behavioral issue pops up, I'm willing to resolve that with, because we get calls all the time like, I have this issue. All right, well, let's talk about, I'm not doing training. I'm not doing training. I'm just giving up. What the heck? You know what I'm saying? It's your dog. Yeah. You've had it for 5 years and you're telling me that you're not willing to help the dog?
Right. You've created this problem that you now have. And you're not willing to put in the work to correct the problem that you have created. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
What about, let's get into some stories, have you dealt with a lot of, backyard breeders, bad breeding where it's just a hoarding case and then you guys break it, you're like, holy cow, what's going on here? Yeah. Those dogs are off, as bad, if not worse than the other cases. Yeah. Because they're just shoved into these areas, forced to breed all the time, and then the puppies are inbred or they got genetic issues and all this stuff.
Infections. We've dealt with a handful of hoarding situations now.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was we partnered with Valiant Animal
Mm-hmm.
Rescue. And I think probably like 10 rescues came together because it was hundreds of dogs that were
Holy
seized
smokes.
from a home in Florence.
Yeah.
All small breed dogs and all basically kept in very small crates their entire lives. Like,
Yeah.
and the crates were disgusting, just like piled up, like eating, pooping, sleeping, peeing in the same spot 24/7.
Just
And
caked
so,
in it and all
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So not only do these dogs have like crazy infections, but they also hate humans. They're terrified of people. So that was our first hoarding situation, and that was probably during law school, so maybe 2017
Mm-hmm.
is when that happened. And we ended up with like a handful of dachshunds, and because all of the dogs, you know, had such horrible hygiene and obviously like no veterinary care, the worst thing with those dogs were their dental situations. And so I think all of the dogs that we took had to have basically all of their teeth removed.
Dang.
Among other things. But
Well, a big behavioral issue with that is they're used to pooping and peeing on themselves. So now potty training is going to be a big issue.
Yeah, I'm
know?
pretty sure there's probably some dogs from that hoarding case that still are not potty trained.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you know,
Yeah.
they had spent their whole lives, which is probably longer than they've now been in their new homes, in that routine of just, you know, being forced into that.
That's crazy.
So that was our first hoarding situation.
Yeah.
Then another one that we helped with, actually our vet up here, Paws and Claws, texted me and they were like, hey, we have a guy who has like 15 Yorkies and Morkies, so like I guess Maltese Yorkie mix. And he's decided he doesn't want any of them anymore. Can you help?
The heck?
And I was like, why is he just now deciding this?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, he had a recent litter of puppies and it's just too much, so he wants them all gone. I'm like, okay. And I am not a small dog person. And so go up there to the vet on intake day. All of them have like awful eye infections. Some of them are missing fur. They're all super scared and bitey.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the cage full of dogs. They were like asking me to help them, like, grab the dog and
Dang.
we'll come over and we'll do the vaccine or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever they needed done. And I looked at them and I was like, I am not touching those things. So now they make fun of me because I don't like little dogs. But that was the second one. And then most recently, last summer, we were contacted about a home that had 130 pugs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it started apparently 5 years ago. The guy got 2 pugs and never got them fixed. They just had litter after litter.
My gosh.
They added in, I think, a Pekingese and like a Maltese along the way. So then it's like 4 adult dogs that are all unrelated that then produced up to 130 dogs.
Holy smokes.
All in one yard. So we ended up with 20 pug Pekingese mixes, and their eyes went in opposite directions and their legs bent the wrong way. They were so inbred.
Yeah.
We probably spent like $3,000 per dog on those dogs because they were just so bad off medically.
Yeah.
But they were actually pretty good with people. I don't know how he socialized them somewhat, but it was at least the most positive hoarding case
That's
we
insane.
dealt with.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So whenever you guys get these dogs, you just put out a mass. Hey, we need fosters. We have, 30 pugs coming in. Who wants one?
Yeah.
And do they get like picked up pretty quickly from the foster network, or sometimes it's a process?
We have a Facebook group that we have all of our fosters and volunteers in. So basically we'll just post in there and be like, 911 incoming.
Oh, yeah.
And little dogs, people lose their minds over. Because in rescue, you think of like pit bulls, labs, hounds, the big dogs.
Yeah.
And smaller dogs are harder to come by. So whenever people see like 20 crazy wonky looking pugs, they're like, sign me up. So it's pretty easy with the small dogs, but getting the bigger dogs placed is always the challenge.
All right, so back to the craziest stories that you can think of, just one that comes to your head, first one that comes to your mind, things that you've had to like figure out how to finagle it, troubleshoot the scenario.
Let's see. Most recent, this is a good one. This is a real good one. So this was right whenever Alicia had decided that I was the vice president of the rescue and just told me that I was the vice president of the rescue. And I remember I was like in class,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "We have this dog that's getting adopted and going up to Connecticut." And I was like, "Oh, cool."
Dang.
And she was like, "We have this lady who's going to transport her, but she's leaving from Columbia. So can we send the dog from Charleston to Columbia to you, and then it'll get on transport and go up to Connecticut right away?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
So I'm like texting the lady, making the plan. And the lady's like, "Yeah, I'll meet you at this place at this time, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, did Alicia already handle gas money and all that?" And she's like, "Yeah, we're good to go."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, cool." So my mom brings the dog from Charleston to Columbia. And I'm like texting the lady, and the lady's not responding. And I'm like,
don't tell me. Don't tell
Like-
me she doesn't do it.
"Hello?"
Yeah.
Like, "Are you there?"
Yeah.
And she's like, not responding. I'm like calling her, texting, all sorts of stuff. And my mom's like, "I gotta go back to Charleston. Like, I have things to do." So I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess you can leave the dog here with me, and we'll figure something out."
Yeah.
The lady just never responded. Like,
Holy
completely ghosted us.
Mm.
And I was pissed. And so
Yeah.
I'm just like firing off a text. And I'm like, "It's really inconsiderate of you. Like, not only are you screwing over the people in Connecticut, you screwed over my mom who drove the dog up here, the foster in Charleston, who was like emotionally tearing up, thinking she's never going to see this dog again.
Oh, God.
And me, because now I'm stuck with this dog."
Yeah.
I had Winnie at that point. I think
Yeah.
I had like 2 fosters of my own.
And
Maple.
you're in law school. Yeah.
In school,
Yep.
and this dog is terrified, like Jess level terrified.
Mm.
And at that point, like, I had done like puppies and like adult dogs that are chill.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have much experience with like a super scared dog.
Yeah.
And so all I had to lean on was my Animal Planet watching from a child.
Caesar
And
Milan?
so I'm like, that one, Animal Cops,
There you
know.
go. All of them?
I didn't watch cartoons. I watched Animal Planet.
Heck yeah.
Which should be no surprise to my family that I'm now doing this. But, so I was so angry at that woman. She never responded. I was like, if I ever see her around.
Yeah.
So then I had to figure it out how to get the dog back down to Charleston, and then also get the dog up to Connecticut at some point, because these people had paid for their dog. They're ready for it.
Yeah.
And so ended up, Mom came back up and got the dog the next day. Found some transport company.
Yeah.
Everything's fine now.
Yeah.
But I was just like, "Really, lady?
Yeah.
Really?"
Yeah. That's crazy. They dropped the ball.
And it's just odd. Like, why sign up to do something so major
Right.
as driving to and from like South Carolina to Connecticut,
Right.
then to just bail last minute with
Yeah.
like, at least tell us why. Like, I wouldn't want to drive that far, but I also wouldn't sign up to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And some of the other struggles that, Eunoia has, let's just talk about like current day, because you guys have been through a lot, you've evolved a lot. But what are some of like the major struggles of the rescue, that you guys deal with today? Is it trying to find fosters or find transpo or medical bills or whatever?
Probably a mix. So the biggest thing I think is like the constant pressure of trying our hardest to save as many dogs as possible, but obviously like finding foster homes for them, which like you'd think at 65 like we'd be satisfied with that number and just keep it there, but we see daily, and we get messages daily from shelters saying like, we are over capacity and we're going to have to euthanize dogs, like, can you please help us? And so it's just awful to see pictures all day long of all of the dogs that are at risk in this shelter, and having to pick, okay, so we have 3 fosters open, but there's a list of 15 at this one shelter alone. So how do you pick
3.
which dogs to, take? And then like, I think the hardest thing for me lately has been like seeing the post afterwards of the shelters with like the rainbow emoji of the dogs that they had to put down. It's like, dang, like I was hoping that a foster would like, sign up for that one, or like, could I have brought another dog in the house and like hid it in a crate from Tal for the first 2 days? Or, what could I have done to have saved that dog's life? So that's just, I think that's the hardest part of rescue.
Yeah.
But our biggest struggles, are finding fosters. And lately, unfortunately, medical bills have just been insane. It's like 2022 has not been our year. I think we've been in the emergency vet all but 2 weeks so far this year.
Is it because of dogs getting hit by cars or heartworm or other things?
So at the beginning of the year, it started out with a dog who had a spay surgery and had a complication from it. She was heartburn positive. And so she just had a lot of internal bleeding, and it was maybe January 5th or something, and she was in the emergency vet.
Dang.
And it was just been stuff like that ever since. Recently, we had a dog that we had adopted out in 2020, and she ended up at a local shelter, and they contacted the adopter, and they were like, hey, your dog was hit by a car. It's here. She needs this, this, and this. And the people were like, oh, we can't afford that. And the shelter was like, well, we'll actually pay for it if you just, take your dog back.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we don't actually have the time to help her recover.
Holy cow.
So then they were like, okay. And they were like, but we did adopt her from Eunoia, and we think that we're actually required to return her to Eunoia, so you guys should contact them. We never heard from the adopters, but we heard from the shelter, and they did not offer to pay for her services
what the heck?
after we got her. So that was another emergency vet bill. Plus now she needs specialty surgery. We actually have a dog in the emergency vet right now who had perineal hernia. So basically his stomach and bladder are falling into the skin around his butt.
Oh.
So we had to have that repaired. That was $5,000 that I authorized this morning. We have another puppy who has some weird leg issue, so she's going to the specialist tomorrow. It's just
one after the other. When you got that many dogs, there's going to be a lot, and these dogs are not coming from good conditions.
Right.
Things are going to happen.
Yeah, especially because you never know what their background is.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff is a surprise.
Well, this getting hit by the car scenario, that could be, and again, these dogs are not in good conditions before they come to you guys, but, people that have their dogs, keep them on a leash. Or if they're off leash, make sure they're trained off leash so they know what to do. You can call them away from the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It definitely should not be a management issue.
No.
Because if it's a management issue with people not managing the dog, that's a problem,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you deal with leadership challenges as far as leading fosters in certain situations.
Yeah. A lot of our fosters are great, and they respect the fact that we've been doing this for a while, so we kind of have a pretty good, if you follow this
you follow
suggested
the
protocol, things will go smoothly.
Yeah.
So at all times, whenever you first get your foster dog, for the first 48 hours, decompression. It doesn't need to be going anywhere. It doesn't need to be playing with your dogs.
Right.
It doesn't need to be, on the couch with you.
Right.
Leave the dog in a crate in a quiet area. It'll be fine. From there
used
on,
to your environment, used to your house.
Right. I tell them the dog gets used to you and everything in your house by the sounds and the smells, which is huge. And it's how whenever you get a fish and you put it in a fish tank, first you put it in a pot with the water, and you don't you keep it in the bag or whatever. So a slow introduction.
Yeah.
And so that's what we tell them at first, and then we tell them, after that, maintain the crate. That way the dog is always safe when you're not home. It's not tearing up your stuff. It's not eating something it shouldn't. It's not, we had a dog jump through a window downtown Charleston.
Holy smokes.
That wouldn't have happened if the dog was at a crate,
Right.
If a dog is scared, keep the leash on it at all times, even in the house.
Right.
Whenever it's outside, double leash it. Use a martingale collar, basic stuff.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I think it's basic, but some people, I'm sure it's very overwhelming to them because they're like, I just thought I was going to get a puppy to play with.
Right.
There's definitely a responsibility.
Yeah.
So some of our fosters are great, and they will do exactly, what we suggest to be done. Other fosters, I don't think they understand the why behind what we're telling them to do, or they put too much trust in this dog that has not yet earned the trust.
Right.
And so bad things happen.
Yeah. And, what is the staff like? I know you're coordinating a lot of things, but, do you have anyone helping you out, trying to coordinate with people, trying to handle some of these responsibilities? Yeah,
we have a pretty solid group of people who kind of just handle random areas.
Yeah.
So there's Nikki, who oversees adoptions. She's our vice president. She handles the Charleston medical stuff for the most part, and just kind of helps oversee the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Then we have Avery, who is our foster volunteer and events coordinator. She does a lot.
So she's in charge of the fosters.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's in charge of getting them signed up and ready.
Make sure they're following protocol. Is
that's
that her job?
That's a team effort. We're all in a group me.
Yeah.
We don't give out our numbers anymore because
Yeah.
we learned that that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But it's all teamwork to try to get them to follow protocol.
Yeah.
And we have people. Hali handles microchips and registering all of those. We have Rachel, who's in charge of our storage unit and getting donations, and she does like our raffles and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Scotty and Stacy handle calling vets for vet checks for adopters. Leslie, who's up here with me, just kind of does it all.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of people, luckily.
Nice. Good.
And then there's always new volunteers and people that are excited to help in one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So it is awesome, but it's also hard for my type A personality to delegate because I'm like, I know that if I do it, it'll be done the way that I like it.
Yeah.
But our team's good and they
Yeah.
know how to do it.
Yeah. And so as new people get on with some of the responsibilities, are you training new people to do new things, or have you kind of delegated that out at this point, or how's that leadership management going?
So that's the other thing. Like we utilize group messages a lot. So it'll be like, usually it's always Avery, Nikki, and I in a group message with whoever the volunteer is, because then if somebody has a question, the chances of one of us getting back to them is triple. Like it'll be a quicker response.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we, just kind of text them our thoughts and ideas and, like, we need this done and this is the goal and this is like the general way of doing it.
Yeah.
But we're always evolving. So if somebody figures out a better way to do something, then we're definitely open to that.
Yeah. Good to go. There's a lot of other rescues that are kind of like Eunoia, where they're a foster network. Are you guys very familiar with them? Do you work with them at all? Do they try to reach out to you to ask you, hey, how do you guys doing this? How are you doing that? Are you sharing information?
So it's odd. Whenever I first started with Eunoia, so I guess whenever Eunoia first started, it was like a weird vibe in Charleston of like competition between rescues.
We can't help each other out?
Yeah. And so like a lot of the way that we figured things out was just trial and error. Like we didn't really have other rescues to like take us under their wing and like guide us of like, avoid this, do this. There were some that would, offer random tips, but like no like mentorship really, which I think is kind of crucial because rescue is like so unknown and it's the Wild West and there's just so many things that can go wrong.
Right.
Because, you're taking in an animal that you know nothing about and placing it with a person that you don't know that much about.
Right.
And so there's a lot of room for error.
Yeah.
But luckily that atmosphere's kind of changed recently and it's more of a community of, for the most part, it'll be like, hey, like I have an adopter who wants, this type of dog. They're really great. I really recommend them. And I've suggested that they contact you. Or, this foster is really great and they can take mamas and babies, which is super hard to come by. So like if y'all have a mama and baby that you need to place, talk to this person.
Yeah.
Or this vet is great, but this one sucks. So avoid this one.
Yeah.
So it's gotten better.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Kind of before we get close to wrapping it up, just a quick question, about foster network, Eunoia Rescue, all that kind of stuff. Talking about there's so many dogs that need help, there's so many. We've got 3 fosters. There's 15 dogs on this one list. There's 15 lists.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like how do we correct the problem?
Spay neuter.
Spay neuter.
Spay neuter. Another thing that is probably a hot topic, but I think, unfortunately, the clear the shelter events that a lot of shelters utilize to get dogs out, which I understand why they do it, I think it's detrimental because they're just, a lot of times, shelters, they do way more than rescues do because they are all housing the dogs and have all of that responsibility constantly. But so they need to get dogs out as quickly as possible. So normal times, they're charging like $100 for a dog and they have the application and everything, which is generally a bare bones application. Ours probably takes like an hour to fill out and theirs is probably, like 10 minutes max, which, there's no really getting around that for them because of lack of resources. But cranking dogs out and just sending them out to people, no questions asked, when you're giving them away for $5 or waived adoption fees, to me is just reckless, because you're not requiring that they show any sort of dedication to dog ownership.
Yeah.
So who's to say that they're going to take this dog who may not be spayed and neutered already, because the shelter may send the dog out on a contract basis where you're promising to alter it, at X date or through the next free clinic or whatever.
Then they don't.
So they never do it. So then the dog is out here with this person who never gets their dog fixed. So best case scenario, that dog just lives a happy life without issue.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, the dog reproduces. Those puppies are given away for free to random people, so then they continue reproducing. Then the dog ends up with pyometra because she was never spayed, so now she has to have emergency surgery to have her uterus removed. So then what does the dog do? The dog gets dumped back at the shelter. Shelter can't afford to vet that dog, so then it comes to Eunoia. So then now Eunoia is cleaning up this mess of the free dog from the Clear the Shelter event, which unfortunately happens a lot.
Yeah.
But they have to do the Clear the Shelter events because they're overflowing, and the alternative is euthanasia.
Yeah.
So the only way to get around it is to spay and neuter.
Yeah.
If they're not having dogs...
Yeah.
or not having puppies, then they're not going to end up in shelters.
Yeah.
But
dang, that's crazy. Just
it's
a
difficult.
cycle.
Right. And then the other issue is, I'm sure people want to spay and neuter their dogs, but the cost of vetting a dog is so expensive these days. And so they, have good intentions of doing it, but they can't afford it. So luckily, Charleston has a lot of options for spay-neuter clinics. There's a lot of wait lists, but we've actually hosted, I want to say 3 or 4 in the past year, one of which being entirely free. So if anyone needs their animal spayed, neutered, send us an email, a message, whatever, and we will handle it.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather spay a dog than have it get euthanized because we couldn't pull it.
Right. Exactly. That's intense.
It is intense.
Yeah. Well, how can people, support Eunoia and other rescues? Because you're not the way that you operate, all these expenses you're talking about.
Yeah.
The bills rack up.
They do.
They get intense. You're talking about $5,000 surgery.
Yeah.
The average person, if their dog needs $5,000 surgery, they can't afford that.
No.
So how can people support you and other rescues like you to help the dogs, help the mission?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's some of the major ways that people can support?
The most, I think the easiest way is Venmo or PayPal. We have both at Eunoia_rescue for Venmo and EunoiaRescue@gmail.com for PayPal. There's also Amazon Smile, so anybody who uses Amazon can register a charity that a percentage of all of their purchases donates. It doesn't cost them anything at all.
Yeah.
So if you use Amazon and you don't have funds to donate, which is completely fine, you can pick Eunoia and then it'll send us a check every few months from just Amazon's good heart.
Nice. Good to go.
So that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We always need food, treats, pee pads, crates, collars, leashes.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest ways, really.
Foster.
Foster,
if you have the
definitely
availability,
foster.
Get involved with foster.
If you can't foster, take a dog out for a day. We have a pampered pup program where our dogs that have been around for a while that just aren't getting attention for whatever reason, the community can take them out for a day on the town with an Adopt Me vest, and people can see them and they can spread the word. It's a good way to help get dogs adopted. Transporting, that way my mom doesn't have to keep tearing up I-26.
Shout out to Mama again.
Yes.
Getting things done.
Yes.
What about any fundraiser events? Have y'all done those types of things? Hey, let's walk 10 miles or let's swim or let's have this competition or anything.
I actually just texted Avery last night. I was like, I want to do a 5K.
Yeah.
Not run in a 5K, but host a
Walk
5K.
A 5K?
Yeah.
Cool.
So usually we do events with breweries where they'll give us a percentage of the sales for the day or
any issues with that? Anyone getting hammered and then some fist fights going on? Yeah, I'm with so and so rescue. I'm with Eunoia, so you know what? Let's brawl.
And Eunoia has my attorney, so we good.
Exactly.
No, we don't want to encourage that behavior.
I had to ask a question.
No.
But what kind of fundraisers you guys thinking about? Other than the brewery ones, that's kind of probably the most common one you're doing.
Yeah, we have, like I said, we do raffles. So if people want to donate, we had a lady make 2 quilts that she donated, and we raffled those off.
Nice.
If you own a restaurant, want to give a gift card, get a little publicity when we post about the raffle, and then bring new clients in.
Yeah.
If you have products or services, all sorts of stuff that we could raffle off. We get creative.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff.
Good to go.
T-shirts, you can buy our merch.
Yep.
We always,
That's a good one. I have one of
right?
those. Wear it to the gym.
Right?
Good to go.
Yeah.
People always say, "Yeah, people suck." I'm like, "Yeah, they do." Go
Yep.
get some dogs,
You're right. That's why I prefer dogs to humans.
Yeah.
But
Someone was just telling me the other day about some kind of app. I don't remember what it was, but Wolf Track, where basically you walk, you select a fundraiser, donates to the somehow it's like linked. We're looking into that.
Yeah.
How we can how we can utilize that to help
Yeah.
Eunoia and other people that we work with. So
yeah, I'll have to
that
do
kinda
that
stuff is
with my
cool.
daily walks with Jess.
there you go. Log
Make
it.
it count.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, but all that's great. So,
yeah.
Donate, get some supplies going, foster if you can, be involved with the fundraisers, the raffles, all that kind of stuff.
Adopting,
obviously.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good to go. Any closing remarks, closing thoughts, closing comments, kind of wrapping it all up?
Yeah.
We were kind of, talked about your story a little bit, talked about Eunoia. Obviously, we didn't cover the whole story of Eunoia and all the little details because there's so much
We'd be here
that
for
you're
years.
doing. We'd be here for a long time.
Yeah.
But just kind of brushing the surface of, what you guys are doing, how much it actually requires on a daily basis, all the coordination, which, like I keep telling you, hats off to you and the rest of the team, because you're an
Thanks.
attorney. That's your real job. You got your family, you got Tal, you got the dogs you got to take care of, but yet you're running the rescue, and you're on top of it, you got the
Yeah.
spreadsheets going. You guys are keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
So it's just, very intense how you guys do, how you're able to keep track of that.
Thanks.
It takes passion. You
It
know what I'm saying?
does.
It takes passion.
It does. I think that's the only reason why we aren't all burnt out by now.
Yeah.
Because we enjoy doing what we do.
Yeah.
Even the chaos.
Yeah.
I was talking to Tal about it the other day. I was like, normal people just have downtime. It's like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, downtime is not good.
They're not sending emails at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
or they actually, sit around and do nothing on Saturdays.
I always feel bad because you'll shoot me a text at 10 p.m. I'll respond at 3:30. I'm like, I just got to respond to it now before I forget about it.
I know. I feel bad too because I know you go to bed early because you're always up early working out, and I'm like, oh, our schedules do not align. I'm like, hopefully his phone's not loud.
Yeah, it's good to go. I'm sleeping. Whenever I'm sleeping, I'm out.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
I won't feel bad in the future then.
Don't feel bad at all.
But thank you for having me. And
But closing thoughts, closing comments, talking to, whoever's listening, the listener.
Yeah.
Anything you want to let them know about, or get in contact with you guys,
Our social media is definitely probably the easiest way to get a hold of us, or our website. We have a contact form on the website. It's eunoiarescue.org.
Yeah.
But if you're considering getting involved, whether it be with Eunoia or any other organization, do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to save a life. It's definitely not going to be easy.
Yeah.
I don't like to tell people that fostering's easy or without responsibility because it's just not true. It's hard. It's hard to let the dogs go at the end of it. I cry every time. That's why Jess has not left yet. That's not the only reason why Jess hasn't left yet.
She's staying here. But Tal's just got to,
No. Tal says no. He says we cannot have 3 dogs. But there's no better time than now. Unfortunately, COVID has kind of caused a real problem for rescues. So there's a rescue organization at every turn. So help somebody, help a shelter, take a dog out for a day.
Yeah.
Adopt.
Yeah.
Don't buy a dog
if
you can avoid it.
Yeah.
There are breed-specific rescues for every breed under the sun. And a lot of times you're going to get a healthier dog in the long run because mutts don't have all those genetic predispositions that the purebreds do.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
Yep.
We'll get off of it.
Good to go. Y'all do cats too? I never asked if you do
Yeah.
cats too. Yeah.
I'm not a huge cat person, and
you
I
gotta get a cat.
don't know that much about cats.
They'd help you out with these lizards.
Yeah, Ripley. It wouldn't be here long because Ripley would eat it, or Tal would feed it to Ripley.
Yeah.
Because he's way more allergic to cats than he is to
really?
dogs. But
we have any other like animals that you guys do that's like not common? Well, you did the pigs. You did the pigs. That was crazy. How did that happen? It's just like, we got these pigs. They need to go somewhere.
Oh, I watch my grandma who has dementia. I watch her every Saturday from like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I was meeting my dad downtown Columbia, and I was waiting on him, and I was scrolling on Facebook because Grandma's just saying the same thing over and over again. I'm like, tuning her out, scrolling on Facebook. And I see that, so the park behind us, there's another park on the other side of it that has like soccer fields and stuff. Yeah. And the road out there is pretty major, and I see on Facebook, I see on Facebook that there's these pigs at Soar Park. And so I'm like, shoot. Yeah. So I immediately call Tal. And I'm like, Tal. And he's like, what? I'm playing video games. And I'm like, well, I have something more important. And he was like, I'm not going and getting a dog. And I'm like, well, it's not a dog. Yeah. It's a pig and several pigs. And he was like, how the fuck am I supposed to get pigs into the car? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, just figure it out. I was like, there are piglets. I'm downtown Columbia, so I'm like 30 minutes away. I was like, you have less than 5 minutes to get to them. Yeah. I was like, Tal, if a piglet gets splotched on the middle of the road, you're going to be sad. And he was like, bacon. And I'm like, that's not funny. So he goes up the road, and he calls me, and he's like, Haley, what the heck, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? And he's like, these pigs are like 500 pounds. Holy shit. And I was like, they didn't look that big on Facebook. Yeah. And he's like, well, they are. And I was like, well, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Figure it out. Yeah. So I go up there, and there's a church attached to it, too. And I'm sure the church is like, what the heck? So I'm like, wearing my leggings. I have Uggs on. And I'm like strolling up, like, I'm here for the pigs. And they're like, sure. Yeah. And they have them, like, enclosed in the smaller part of the park. And these things are definitely 500 pounds. The piglets were probably, like, 50 pounds. Yeah. And so I looked at Tal, and I was like, well, we got to figure something out. Yeah. And so we called Leslie, who helps me manage things up here in Columbia. And she had just bought some property out in Pillion, so, like, the country of Columbia. Yeah. And she wanted a farm. She hadn't even moved into this house yet. Here's your pigs. But I was like, Leslie, I found some pigs for you. Yeah. And she was like, I'm not coming all the way over there, because it was like a 45-minute drive for her. I think she was like painting her cabinets for her new house that day. Yeah. And she's like, I'm just trying to move into this house. Like, we're not ready yet. And she was like, if you can touch the pigs, if they will let you touch them, then I will come. And so a lizard, not dealing with a lizard, but a 500-pound pig, sure, why not? So I just like hop the fence. I'm like reaching over. I touch the pig. I like take a picture of me touching the pig, and I send it to her, and she's like, ugh. So then, like 45 minutes later, Leslie shows up. She got a trailer and all that? No. That's the other thing. She was like, what are we going to do? I was like, bring a dog crate. Oh, she was like, that's not going to work. So the people at the church called, I guess, the police. I don't know. Yeah. And they were like, well, we'll contact animal control. Animal control was like, we don't deal with pigs. So then animal control called the police back, and they have some like large animal control. So a huge like sheriff's deputy SUV rolls in with this like massive trailer. Holy cow. So we spent like, I don't know, 2 hours running around through like, I don't know, 3-foot tall bushes and brush, because it was like some like playground that they had like closed off and hadn't used in 5 years. Yeah. And so Tal has like a catch pole, and he has it around the mama pig's leg. Oh, gosh. And he's just slow and steady walking around the outskirts of the park with the catch pole. And I'm like, Tal, we got to move it along. Yeah. And he's like, she doesn't want to. She's like, she's way bigger than I am, so she's setting the pace. I'm like, come on, just like, I don't know, pat her or something. And he's like, you try that. And I'm like, no. Yeah. So somehow these sheriff's deputies are just like manhandling these pigs and tossing the piglets in. And slowly but surely they get like all the piglets and 2 of the adults in. But Tal and his mama pig are still in the back corner. What the heck? With the catch pole around her leg. So I go over there and I'm like, all right, I got this. Yeah. I'm like, watch out, Tal. Yeah. So I'm like, come on, mama. Come on, mama. And she just looks at me and she's like, no. And she just plops down. And she's like, I've had enough. I'm like, well, we can't just leave her here.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's like, we'll set a trap and she'll go in and whatever.
Yeah.
So they set the trap. We leave. I follow the sheriff's deputy with all the pigs through like downtown Columbia or down through downtown Lexington. We get to Leslie's new farm, which is really just like land with like a house and a backyard in Pelion. And he pulls up and he's like, well, where's the pig pen? And I'm like, oh yeah, we don't have one of those. They're just going in the yard. Yeah. So we drop the pigs off. We close the gate. It's like a, I don't know, 6-foot chain link fence. Close the gate. Leave all the pigs in there, and we go to Tractor Supply. We get to Tractor Supply, and we're like, well, what do you need for pigs? Yeah. And Leslie went to zookeeping school for college. And so I'm like, Leslie, you know, like, whatever. And she was like, I don't know. So we just buy all sorts of random stuff. Go back to Leslie's house. The pigs are gone. At this point, it's dark. The fence is laying, like the gate is just laying down on the ground.
They put their 500-pound bodies into it.
It wasn't bent though. I think they somehow yanked it up and it fell over. Dang. And so we're like, shoot. And this is like new territory for Leslie. So she's like, I don't know my neighbors. I don't know if these people are friendly. I don't know if they're going to try to kill us, try to kill the pigs.
Just brought all these pigs.
Right. So we're like, uh-oh. So we're like looking around trying to find the pigs. It gets to be like super dark. And I'm like, Leslie, I probably have clients that live out here who don't do good things. Yeah. So we should maybe call it a day. Yeah. So as a joke, I like pick up the food bowl that has the feed in it. Because we're like, we'll leave the food in there and maybe the pigs will come back overnight. Yeah. So I like pick it up and like shake it. I'm like, here, pig, here, pig. And then we're heading to the car. And I'm getting in the car and Leslie's daughter's like, shh, shh. So we listen and we hear trot, 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 trot. Through the woods. The pigs heard the food and came back.
They went right in?
They went right in.
Holy shit.
They went straight to the food. They were like, thank you. We were hungry. Yep. And then we closed the gate. We put like 12 bungee cords on it. So we went back to Tractor Supply, got all the stuff. Yeah. And ever since then, it's just been smooth sailing.
Good to go. Got some pigs going.
Yeah.
That's a good story. That's a unique animal.
It is
for a dog rescue with some cats.
And you took your, what was it, father-in-law took some of the pigs?
Yep. Gigi HB, shout out to Gigi. She listens to the podcast. Ben knows Gigi. She's got a farm. She took some pigs.
Nice.
I go visit them. I see them. They're growing good.
There we go. Yep. I'm sure they're huge.
Oh, yeah, they got a nice little pig pen. They got it all muddy in there and all that, you know. So
yeah, right. Leslie finally built the pig pen.
There you go. Good to go.
I know what that's like.
Yep.
But
so, awesome.
We won't be rescuing more pigs in the future. They were too expensive and they were too stressful.
Oh yeah. Plus they're 500 pounds. So, I mean, if one of them wanted to cause some damage, you know, that'd be bad.
Oh yeah. So. Leslie's like, I'm still scared of them. I'm like, oh, don't be a baby. Yeah. And she's like, no, like, I'm really scared of them. Yeah. We named them like cornbread, brisket, mac and cheese. I'm like, well, maybe if we had given them better names, they wouldn't be trying to mess with you.
Yep. But, good to go. Yeah. Well, what else you got? Any closing other than how to contact you, unique animals, closing remarks, anything like that? What's the future look like for Eunoia? What are you guys looking at? You do like long-term planning? We're like, all right, in 2 years, this is where we want to be at. We want to have a facility. We want to do this. We want to do that.
So I would love to have kind of like the setup you do, like out in the woods, enough land where I could put like a small like facility in the back, but have the house at the front. That way Tal doesn't feel like he's living in a dog shelter. I would love that long term to have some sort of smaller facility.
I'll just come get a property out close to me. Yeah. We'll be right across the street from each other, and then you got good reach to Charleston, good reach to Columbia, you know?
Tal's like, no. He's like, I'm going to live in the suburbs. That way you can't do that.
He's a city boy. He's a city boy.
Yeah. I'm sure if it weren't for the rescue, he'd be all about getting some land. But he's like, more land means more dogs. He's had enough. Yep. He's a good sport. Yeah. He's always been a good sport with all the dog rescue or pig rescue.
You guys make a good team.
Yeah.
So,
he's a good one.
I appreciate you guys, you and Tal, your friendship. And glad we can support each other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Me too.
And get a lot of things taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
Get a lot of crazy cases ourselves between us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I feel like I'm always texting you with some crazy story. I'm like, oh, my God. He probably thinks I'm insane.
That's what we do. Glad we can help out.
Yeah.
You know?
Make a good team.
Absolutely.
Save a lot of dogs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll keep doing it.
That we will.
keep supporting each other. So
good to go.
Good to go. I hear you saying it throughout the podcast. I'm like, oh, I'm wearing off on her finally, you know?
Yeah, finally. I meant to order one of those good to go T-shirts.
You got to get one. They're cool.
I was going to wear it today, but I messed up and I forgot that it was today until like yesterday.
So I reminded you, hey, we still good? After all the stuff all the other stuff that was going on?
Well, I was like trying to figure it out because I knew that this wasn't a court week. And for whatever reason in my head, I thought that it was Thursday. And I was like, shoot, there actually is court on Thursday. So I was like, let me find someone to cover it. And then I looked at my calendar. I actually looked at it and I had it on for today. And I was like, oh, we're good.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
We're good to go. All right, guys, go online to the listener. Thank you guys for tuning in today to today's episode with Haley. Go to Eunoia's socials, get their shirts, Dogs Because People Suck shirt. Love that shirt. They also come out with new shirts, like you had the tie-dye shirt, and then you had the what was the other one? Nice Pity shirt.
Oh yeah, we have
breast cancer awareness.
ACDC themed shirt coming out now too. It's like a bleached acid wash type look, and instead of like the ACDC Back to Black, it says Eunoia Rescue, Adopt, Don't Shop.
Yeah.
So that's live now.
Nice.
Grab one of those.
Awesome. You can go to the social medias and find that.
Yep.
You can go to the social medias and get in contact at how to foster, how to donate, how to Amazon Smile, all that kind of stuff. $5 Friday. Go on there, get your $5. If everyone donates $5, I mean, that adds up to a lot. That can cover a lot of expenses for you guys, you know, and go from there. So, cool. All right. Well, Haley, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Might do this again in the future, but of course, you know, appreciate your friendship, appreciate our relationship.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Me too.
All right. To the listener, thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, out.